Pretty face, empty arms.
You've wasted my son's years. You are a failure.
I am nothing! Spirits, save me! There is a path, but every blessing carries a burden. From the moment you were destined.
In the culture of many ancient villages, where tradition and inheritance are considered the foundation of existence, a woman's value is often measured by the laughter of the children she brings. This fairy tale unfolds in Rivona, a mountain village possessing the majestic beauty of its valley and crystal-clear stream, but also harboring ancient and rigid prejudices. There, Liana, a woman with a gentle beauty like the morning breeze, with deep brown eyes and a serene grace, is trapped in an insurmountable pain. Infertility. For 5 long years, she and her devoted husband, Daryl, wait for a miracle that never comes. The absence of children's cries turned Liana into a target of cruel and public scorn from the community. Every morning, when she went to the village well to fetch water, a woman named Maris with a razor-sharp tongue and the pride of a mother of 5 would utter venomous words, mocking her as a beautiful face but empty arms. Those words, sharper than pebbles, cut deep into Liana's heart, leaving invisible wounds that only she could feel. Although Daryl always loved and defended her, reassuring her that her value didn't lie in bearing children, the villagers' insults haunted her like a ghost, plunging her into profound loneliness and despair. However, the source of her greatest torment came from within her own home. Mrs. Mara, Liana's mother-in-law, a tough, sharp woman. Mrs. Mara considered Liana's inability to have children a personal failure, an insult to the family. In Mrs. Mara's eyes, Liana had stolen the best years of her son. Her mother-in-law's frustration culminated in a cruel and unchangeable declaration. If things didn't change this year, she would bring Daryl another wife, someone who could fill the cradle and secure the family's future. This threat struck like a bolt of lightning, crushing any remaining glimmer of hope for Liana, making her realize that no matter how hard she tried, she was still not enough. The unbearable pain finally led to Liana's breaking point. After a series of insults from both Maris and Mrs. Mara especially, the hurling of useless woman after she broke the water jug, Liana fled. She ran as fast as she could, leaving behind the village, the mockery, and her own fear. She ran deep into the forest, straight to Shadow Peak Ridge, a place whispered only in fearful fairy tales. There, she collapsed beneath a giant ancient tree, where the boundary between the human world and the spirit world blurred, and her tears mingled with the earth. It was this genuine despair that stirred the spirit of the mountain. In that moment, Liana's call was answered. A woman of ethereal beauty, with hair as silver as moonlight and eyes shining with ancient wisdom, the guardian spirit of the mountain emerged from the shadows. Liana recounted her suffering, her longing for motherhood, and her fear of being replaced. The guardian spirit listened, then offered a path, to find the luminous leaf from the sacred dawn tree. This was the path to miracle, but the accompanying warning was grave. Every blessing carries a burden. What you seek will come at a price of sacrifice. Though terrified, Liana accepted the price, willing to trade everything, to escape the torment of her barren life. With the glowing leaf planted in the ground, Liana bravely faced new rumors and ridicule, nurturing her fragile hope. When the magical tree sprouted and bore a brilliant golden fruit, Liana knew her fate was sealed. After eating the fruit as instructed, Liana became pregnant. News spread throughout Rivona, changing people's attitudes from mockery to reverence. Mara wept and begged for forgiveness, and the whole village celebrated. Liana gave birth to Tiro, a perfect boy, but one who bore the unmistakable marks of divine origin. As Tiro grew older, his powers manifested, flowers bloomed at his feet, wild beasts bowed their heads, and he could even calm violent storms. He became Rivona's miracle, the pride of Liana and Daryl. However, fear still haunted Liana. The price of miracles would eventually come. When Tero turned 18, destiny had to decide, to remain on earth or to follow the call of the spirit. Under the setting sun, Tero walked toward the sacred ancient tree, ready to accept the fate of a child of the gods. But at that decisive moment, an astonishing event occurred. A voice more powerful and greater than all spirits, the Almighty, intervened. He declared Tero his child and commanded the boy to return to the village, to become an eternal blessing. From a story of personal despair, it has transformed into a legend of divine intervention, proving that miracles bestowed with love will not be taken away. but will be reshaped to serve a higher purpose, bringing healing and hope to an entire community.
In the peaceful and majestic setting of Ravona village, a community nestled deep in a valley, surrounded by towering peaks and crystal-clear streams, exists a tradition as harsh as the very cliffs themselves. In Ravona, a woman's value is measured not by her beauty or kindness, but by her fertility, by the number of children she bears to continue the family bloodline and tradition. Liana was a woman sculpted from the gentlest beauty of the village. She possessed soft brown eyes, skin as smooth as river pebbles, and a serene, graceful demeanor that brought peace to anyone who looked at her. She married Darrell, a kind and loving husband who cherished her deeply and selflessly, but her beauty and love could not erase a bitter truth. Liana was infertile. 5 years had passed since their wedding, each year a cycle of intense hope and bitter disappointment. With each menstrual cycle, a small part of Liana's heart shattered, though Darrell constantly reassured her, saying she was enough, that her worth had nothing to do with motherhood. Those comforting words could not shield her from the cruel judgment of Ravona society. Every morning, the ritual of drawing water from the village well became a mental torture for Liana. It was the place where all eyes converged, where whispers were allowed to erupt into loud murmurs, and the ringleader of this cruel charade was none other than Maris. Maris, a woman with a razor-sharp tongue and the pride of the village for having given birth to 5 mischievous children, had made Liana a public target. "Look, she's here again." Maris would deliberately raise her voice as Liana walked past. Pretty face, but empty arms. Maris's friends, mothers resigned to their fate, would giggle in response. Their laughter wasn't playful, but cold blades cutting through the air, piercing straight into Liana. "She should borrow one of my children," another woman scoffed. "At least she'll know what it feels like to be useful." Liana, having learned to cope with pain, always kept her gaze down and her steps steady. She pretended not to hear, but inside, her heart trembled like a leaf in a storm. She knew that words could inflict wounds deeper than pebbles, and each insult left an invisible scar that no one could see. When she returned home, she forced a smile at Darrell, hiding the hurt of the day. But when night fell, she would bury her face in her pillow, sobbing silently, wishing only that the universe would take pity on her. However, the worst words, the most devastating blows to Liana's, came from the very place she called home, from Mrs. Mera, her mother-in-law. Mrs. Mera was a stern woman, with cold, sharp eyes and a heart hardened by years of disappointment. To her, Liana was not just a daughter-in-law, but a symbol of failure. "You've taken away my son's best years," Mrs. Mera shrieked one morning, blocking the doorway so Liana couldn't escape. 5 years. Liana. 5 years. And still no children, no heir, no hope. Liana lowered her head, her hands trembling, and whispered, "Mother Mara, I tried my best." Mara sneered, her voice laced with undisguised contempt. "Trying can't fill the cradle. Trying can't bring a future to this family. You're holding my son back. A real woman would have given us children long ago." Those words struck like thunder. Liana's breath hitched, but she forced herself to remain silent. She had learned that responding only made the storm worse. The tension reached its peak that evening at dinner. Mara publicly delivered a verdict that shattered the fragile atmosphere in the family. "If things don't change this year," she declared, "I will bring Darrell another wife, one who can bear him children." The declaration hung in the air like a poisonous cloud. Darrell slammed his hand down on the table in anger. "Mother, I love Liana. There will be no other woman." But even Darrell's fierce protection couldn't soothe the pain building deep within Liana. She ate in silence, savoring every taste. Her heart whispered fears she'd never dared voice. Was Mrs. Mara right? Was she really not good enough? That night, as Darrell slept peacefully beside her, Liana lay awake, staring at the ceiling, tears soaking her hair. She felt trapped between shame, the fear of being replaced, and a desperate longing threatened with being consumed. The following morning, the villagers' cruelty seemed to reach its peak. As Liana walked toward the well, Maris immediately spotted her. "Ah, Empty Arms is here again," Maris shouted, loud enough to wake the whole village. "Tell me, Liana, How does it feel to watch everyone else raise their children while you're only nurturing disappointment? This time, the words struck harder than ever. Perhaps because Mrs. Mara's insults still echoed in her mind. Liana felt a fragile thread snap inside her. She let go. The water pitcher fell, shattering into pieces on the stones. For the first time, she didn't bend down to pick up the broken pieces. She turned her back and walked straight home, tears stinging her eyes. Mrs. Mara was waiting there, arms crossed, her face frowning. "You broke another vase. Useless woman. You can't even carry water properly, let alone give birth." Those were the last words. They were the opening shots of a painful release. Without reply, without time to grab her shawl or shoes, Liana ran. She dashed past houses, across fields, through the village gates. Her heart pounded like a drum. Tears blurred her vision, but she didn't stop. She ran deep into the woods, into a place she had only heard of in fairy tales. The forbidden foothills of Shadow Peak Ridge. There, overwhelmed and broken, Liana collapsed. She didn't know she had crossed a boundary, stepped into the spiritual realm where destiny awaited. She had lost everything she thought she had, and fear was meaningless. Before her, a giant ancient tree stretched its bare branches towards the misty sky. "I am nothing, nothing without a child," Liana screamed. "Oh, spirits, if you exist, please listen to me. Help me." Her hot tears soaked into the roots of the ancient tree, carrying with them her utter despair. Liana had staked everything she had left, her tormented soul, on the intervention of a supernatural force. Little did she know that her cries had been heard by the universe, and the mountain spirits had begun to stir in response to the immeasurable pain of a woman rejected by society.
In the midst of utter chaos, Liana ran. She ran from the mocking laughter, from the contemptuous stares of the villagers, and most importantly, from the despair that was suffocating her very soul. Mara's final insults about the broken vase had been the straw that broke the camel's back, freeing her from the fragile bonds of endurance. She ran, without looking back, without a single possession, plunging into the dense forest on the edge of Ravona village. Liana's body was exhausted, but her will was strengthened by the resentment and pain she had been harboring. Branches pricked her hands, thorns tore at her dress, but she felt nothing except the pounding of her heart. Tears blurred her vision, but she maintained her bearings, venturing deeper into the forbidden territory, the foothills of Shadow Peak Ridge. Shadow Peak Ridge, or Dark Peak, is a place that exists only in the chilling whispers of children. It is said to be where ancient spirits wander, where mortals who stray their will vanish without a trace. No one in Ravona dared venture there, and Liana herself never imagined setting foot on that land. But now, fear was meaningless. She had lost everything she thought she had: honor, her future, and almost the very meaning of existence. So death seemed less frightening than facing such humiliation again. Finally, after a long and exhausting run, the world around her gradually became quiet. She came to a clearing in the woods, a peaceful clearing surrounded by sheer cliffs. Here, her sobs echoed softly, swallowed by the eerie silence of the mountains. Before Liana stood a majestic and ancient sight, a colossal ancient tree, its trunk so wide it could swallow a small house whole. Its branches reached towards the misty sky like bony arms. Its bark shimmered slightly, as if touched by starlight thousands of years ago. This ancient tree possessed a mysterious, sacred, and also menacing beauty. Slumped beneath the tree, Liana placed her hand on its gnarled roots. Her angry cries were gone, replaced only by the sobs of a soul utterly wounded. "I am nothing," she whispered, her voice hoarse from crying. "I am nothing without a child. Oh spirits, if you truly exist, please, hear my plea. Please help me." Liana bowed her head, her forehead touching the tree roots, her tears soaking the cold ground. She pleaded, not with a memorized prayer, but with the most genuine despair of a woman driven to the brink. For a moment, there was only the silence of the deep forest. Then, a gentle, resonant sound, like a deep, echoing hum, began to emanate from beneath the ground. Leaves rustled, even without wind, and the air suddenly stirred. Liana looked up, startled. The darkness beneath the tree seemed to thicken, and a soft light spread across the clearing. Her breath caught in her throat. An entity is emerging from the shadows. It was a figure enveloped in a silvery white cloth, her long hair shimmering like moonlight. The woman's eyes were not those of an ordinary person, but shone with an ancient wisdom, as if embracing thousands of years of the mountain's history. She moved with a grace far more fluid and refined than any other woman in Ravona. The woman's presence was both terrifying and strangely peaceful. Liana couldn't speak, couldn't move. "You called," the woman said, her voice soft as a flowing stream, yet resonant like thunder. And the mountain listened. Liana trembled. "W-O-R-U." The woman smiled gently, a smile that held both love and mystery. "I am the guardian spirit of this mountain, the one who whispers to the roots and listens to the broken hearts of the broken. Rise, my daughter. Tell me, why is your soul weeping?" Under the silvery moonlight and the majestic silhouette of the ancient forbidden tree, Liana's destiny began to unfold. The guardian spirit extended its hand, inviting her to rise. Its presence was warm, safe, and seemed to have existed long before the village of Ravona was built. Liana slowly rose, wiping away the tears that still streamed down her face. I'm infertile." Her voice trembled. "I've prayed, begged, sacrificed, but my arms remain empty. The villagers mock me. My mother-in-law wants to replace me. I have no reason to live anymore." The guardian spirit listened silently, his gaze softening with each word Liana spoke. "My daughter," he said finally, "your worth is not measured by the fruit of the womb. You are greater than the mockery you have endured." Liana lowered her head. "Not in Ravona there. A woman without children is nothing." The guardian's eyes shone even brighter. "The world often judges unjustly, but souls do not. And today, they have heard the voice of my heart." Liana's heart pounded with an unprecedented glimmer of hope. "Is there a way?" she whispered. "Is there a way I can become a mother?" The guardian spirit pondered for a moment, then slowly nodded. "There is a way, but it comes with a price." "I'll pay any price," Liana replied immediately, without a moment's hesitation. The guardian spirit gazed into Liana's eyes, testing her resolve. "Then listen carefully. Beyond this clearing lies a secret path. Follow it without looking back. At the end of the path is a sacred tree, the tree of dawn, its leaves shimmering with the light of the ancient world. Pluck a glowing leaf from it." Liana nodded eagerly. "Take that leaf back," he continued, "and I will guide you on your path to motherhood. But remember this warning. What you seek always comes with sacrifice. Every blessing carries a burden." A chill ran down Liana's spine, but determination pushed back the fear. "I understand," she replied. The guardian spirit smiled gently. "Then go, brave girl. The mountain is watching you." Liana took a deep breath, turned her back, and stepped into the hidden path, into the unknown land. Her fate changed with each step. The secret path the guardian spirit had mentioned was merely a faint groove winding through the dense bushes, almost invisible without a strange silver light guiding the way. Liana stepped onto the path, her heart pounding, and instantly, the atmosphere changed. The forest grew darker, silent, almost breathless with anticipation. As she walked, the wind rustled through the leaves, carrying whispers she couldn't understand, as if the forest was speaking in ancient language. The shadows shifted not from the wind, but seemed to possess a life of their own. Several times, Liana felt cold fingers brush against her arm, even though nothing was there. Twice, she nearly turned and ran, overwhelmed by the fear of this invisible world. But each time, she stopped, steadied her breath, and remembered Mara's harsh words, Meris's mocking laughter, and the unbearable emptiness in her heart. It was these pains that propelled her forward. After what seemed like an endless journey, Liana finally arrived at an open field, bathed in a pale light that seemed otherworldly. In the center of the field stood a colossal tree, unlike anything she had ever seen. Its trunk gleamed silver, and its leaves were not the usual green, but shone as if bathed in starlight, gently vibrating with an ancient energy. This was the tree of dawn. Liana approached with reverence, her breath catching in her throat. A gentle touch of the bark sent a soft warmth spreading through her fingers. She raised her hand, carefully selecting the brightest leaf. Her hand trembled, her heart pounding. The moment she plucked the leaf, a whisper echoed from the depths, powerful as a clap of thunder, piercing through the sparse forest. "Your wish will come at a very high price." Liana froze. "What price?" she called out, her voice trembling. There was no reply. The deep forest fell silent again. Clutching the glowing leaf tightly to her chest, Liana hurried back along the path, quickening her pace until she returned to the clearing in the woods, where she had started. The guardian spirit was waiting for her, its silver eyes sparkling with tenderness. "You have done well," it said, its voice gentle. Now, your journey truly begins, Liana gasped, handing the shimmering leaf to the guardian spirit. Thank you. I faced the whispers of the mountains and returned, she said, feeling a renewed surge of spiritual strength. The guardian spirit cradled the leaf, its expression softening. That alone proves your spiritual strength. Liana swallowed hard. The tree, it told me the price would be high. The guardian spirit nodded slowly, neither confirming nor denying. Every miracle has its dark side, but don't fear the unknown. Liana, only fear the regret of a choice never made. Those words weighed heavily on Liana. What do I do now? She whispered. Take this leaf, he said, handing it back to her, and plant it in your garden. Water it every day with your own hands. Sow hope in it, even when others mock you. Liana nodded, though a vague sense of fear welled up inside her. And when it grows up, when the time is right, the guardian spirit continued, it will reveal your path to motherhood. Tears welled up in Liana's eyes again, not from sadness, but from a hope she never thought she would have. As Liana turned to leave, the guardian angel delivered one final warning. Remember this, my daughter, destiny listens only to the brave. Don't let fear steal what you deserve. Liana returned home in the twilight, her legs weary but her heart pounding with a new purpose. She entered Ravona quietly, avoiding the prying eyes of the gossips. No one noticed the strange light glimmering beneath her shawl. When she arrived back at her little house, she knelt in the corner of the garden. Liana dug a small hole, carefully placed the glowing leaf into the soil, and whispered, "Grow up, please, grow up." She watered it with trembling hands, and that night she lay awake, both frightened and eagerly awaiting what would happen. Deep beneath the ground, the leaf trembled slightly, as if awakening. Day after day, week after week, Liana faithfully cared for the buried leaf, watering it at dawn and dusk, whispering prayers to the earth, and carefully guarding it from prying eyes. The villagers quickly noticed her strange behavior and wove their own stories. Now she talks to the earth. Meris scoffed one morning. I told you, she's turning into a witch. Maybe she's praying to the dark spirits for a child. Liana heard the rumors, but she held her head high. Deep down, she knew her miracle was coming. One morning, as Liana stepped into the garden, she was astonished. A tiny seedling had sprouted from the ground, but it was unlike any plant she had ever seen. Its stem shimmered like silver threads woven from moonlight, and its small leaves glowed a radiant green. Liana knelt down in amazement. It's growing, she whispered. It's really growing. Each day, the tree grew taller, twisting into beautiful, winding shapes, as if dancing with an invisible breeze. When night fell, it emitted a gentle light, illuminating her small garden like a falling star. The bigger the tree grew, the louder the rumors became. One afternoon, Mara confronted Liana. What is that thing in our garden? It glows. Trees don't glow. You're bringing a curse to this house. Liana stood firm. It's not a curse, Mom. Mara scoffed. That's madness. But Liana refused to pull it out. Then one evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, the tree began to tremble. A low, gentle tremor. Liana watched, her eyes wide, as a single golden fruit slowly formed at the top of the tree. It shone brighter than the stars. Her breath trembled, her heart pounded. This was the moment she had been waiting for. That night, Liana had a vivid dream. She was once again standing on Shadow Peak Ridge, under the silver moonlight, and the guardian spirit emerged. You've done well, Liana, said the guardian angel, her voice warm but full of meaning. The tree has grown, the fruit has ripened. Does this mean I'll have a child? Liana asked, her hands trembling. Yes, replied the guardian spirit. But you must understand what you are touching. This fruit comes from ancient magic, older than your village, older than your mountain. It carries the essence of life, but also the weight of destiny. Liana swallowed hard. What does that mean? The guardian spirit approached, its silver eyes filled with both love and sorrow. If you eat this fruit at dawn, your womb will open. You will conceive a child, but your child will not be like others. Liana's breath hitched. In what way are they different? It will possess gifts from the spirit realm, he said. It will be a blessing for you, but its destiny will be beyond your control. It may have to walk paths no mortal can follow. Fear crept through Liana. Will it be stolen from me? The guardian spirit gently touched her cheek. Love always comes with sacrifice. But know this, your son's path will be shaped by the love you give him. Without you, his destiny will be lost. Liana's tears welled up again. I don't want to lose it. Then raise it well, the deity whispered. Teach it compassion, teach it strength, And when the time comes, let it go with love. The dream began to fade. The guardian angel's final words echoed as the world around them melted away. Eat the fruit at dawn. Your miracle awaits. Liana woke up with her heart pounding. The golden orb lay on the table, glowing softly. Destiny was firmly in her grasp. Liana's trembling voice echoed through the ancient, sparse forest, but the space responded only with a heavy silence. Tero, standing beside his mother, showed no fear. On the contrary, his eyes lit up as if he had been anticipating this encounter. A few moments later, the darkness flickered again, and the guardian appeared. Its form shimmered gently in the dim light of the twilight forest. "You've done so well, Liana," said the guardian angel, his voice filled with admiration. "Your son is growing up wonderfully." Liana took a step forward, her heart pounding. "Please, tell me the truth. What is Tero truly destined for?" The guardian's eyes deepened, bearing the weight of time. "It is a bridge between worlds," he explained. "A child is born from human love and the essence of the soul. As it grows, its gifts awaken completely. And then, one day, it must choose its own path." "Its path," Liana whispered fearfully. "Stay with her," the guardian spirit said, his gaze resting on her face, "or join the other souls and fulfill her destiny." Liana's legs gave way. "Does it have to leave me?" The guardian spirit placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Love is not about possession, it is about sacrifice. The world needs it, Liana, but only it can decide." Tero, the 5-year-old boy, looked straight at the guardian angel, unwavering. "I'll know when the time comes, mother," he said. Liana's heart was broken, but she knew she had to hold her spirits high. She had prayed for a child, and the spirits had granted it, but not without a price. She accepted it. She brought Tero home. Years passed quickly. Tero grew up, tall and graceful, with eyes that could see through the physical world. His gift blossomed into extraordinary abilities that few could understand. He healed the sick, guided lost travelers, calmed raging storms, and conversed with creatures no mortal had ever tamed. The villagers now not only respected Tero, but almost worshipped him. They flocked to Rivona from distant lands, bringing offerings and prayers. They all believed that Tero was a miracle, a person sent down from heaven. But as Tero approached 18, his dreams changed. He no longer dreamed of childhood, but began to dream of glowing paths, ancient trees, and voices calling his name from behind cliffs. Tero became quieter, more observant, knowing that something awaited him. One early morning, Liana saw Tero standing alone outside, his gaze fixed on Shadow Peak Ridge. "Tero," she whispered. The boy turned round, his eyes filled with anguish and certainty. "Mom, it's time." Liana's world spun round. "No, not yet. Please, stay a little longer." Tero stepped forward and cupped her face in his warm hands. "Your mother raised you with a love stronger than the mountains. But the spirits have been calling you since you were born. You must go and see why." Liana's tears flowed freely. "Will you come back?" Tero smiled gently, a smile that was both comforting and mysterious. "In every breeze that touches your cheek, in every flower that blooms by the door, I will always be here. Just not in the way you expect." Daryl stood behind them, silent, his heart broken. Mara clutched her chest, tears streaming down her face. But Liana stepped back and nodded, though her soul felt like it was shattering. "Go," she whispered. "Follow your own path. I won't hold you back." And Tero embraced his mother one last time, a warm, strong hug that emitted a faint light, then turned and walked towards the mountains. As twilight descended behind Shadow Peak Ridge, bathing Rivona in a brilliant golden light, the villagers gathered silently, their hearts heavy, watching Tero, their miraculous child, now an 18-year-old boy, steadily walk toward the glowing ancient tree at the edge of the mountain. His skin shimmered gently, as if the mountain wind itself were carrying his soul forward. Behind him, Liana stood, her hands trembling, tears silently streaming down her face. Daryl and Mrs. Mara stood beside her, their hearts torn between pride and unbearable pain. Everyone believed this was the moment Tero would disappear forever, merging into the realm of souls that had given birth to him. Tero approached the ancient tree. Its silver bark shimmered in the soft light. He took a deep breath, bracing himself for the destiny he believed he had to accept. But the moment his foot touched the roots of the sacred tree, a thunderous voice ripped through the air. "Go back to your parents." The ground shook. A whirlwind swirled around Tero. The villagers, astonished, fell to their knees. Even the trees bent as if bowing to a command. Tero froze, his heart pounding. Who? "Who is that person?" he whispered into the glowing air. The voice that answered echoed louder than the mountains, stronger than the spirits, and filled with boundless power. "I am the Creator. I am Almighty. No other spirit has power over you anymore. I have chosen you. I have declared my sovereignty over you. Return to your village and be a blessing to them, now and forever." A golden light enveloped Tero, gently lifting him from the ground. A warmth, stronger than any magic he had ever felt, spread throughout his body. It was peace, authority, and purpose. When the light faded, Tero stood firm, renewed, his destiny rewritten by the Creator himself. Slowly, Tero turned round, facing the moment the villagers saw him return, shining not in his departure but in his return, a cry erupted across the field. "He's back. Tero is back with us. God has given him back." Liana ran to her son, falling into his arms, sobbing with overwhelming joy. Daryl embraced both mother and son, his tears soaking Tero's shoulder. Even Mrs. Mara raised her hands to the sky, showering him with praise. The villagers danced, cheered, and sang. Children ran around Tero. From that day forward, Tero lived among his people, not as the son of a spirit, but as the son of Ravona, chosen and protected by God himself. His presence brought healing, unity, and blessings that transformed the village for generations. Tero wasn't taken away. He was returned. As the dawn painted golden streaks across the Ravona sky, Liana stepped out into the garden. Her hands trembled as she took the glistening golden fruit from the table. It was warm, almost alive, and vibrated gently like a heartbeat. Liana whispered a final prayer, a heartfelt plea. "Let this be the answer." Then she took a small bite. A sweet sensation exploded on her tongue, a flavor she had never tasted before, unlike any fruit in the mortal world. As Liana swallowed, a wave of warmth surged through her body, spreading from her chest outwards. Her breathing quickened. The world around her seemed to shimmer for a moment, then everything settled. Liana knew. Something inside her had changed forever. A few weeks later, Liana began to feel the familiar stirrings she had been praying for. One morning, she sat by the riverbank, her hand pressed to her stomach, tears streaming down her face, not tears of sorrow, but tears of pure joy. She was pregnant. When Liana broke the news to Daryl, he embraced her, lifted her up, and spun her around, laughing and crying at the same time. He ran through the streets, spreading the good news. Even the village children followed, cheering. Mara, his mother-in-law, who had always been as tough as steel, knelt down and wept uncontrollably. "Thank heavens, thank our ancestors," exclaimed Mara. She took Liana's hand, her eyes unexpectedly gentle for the first time. "I judged you too harshly, my daughter. Please forgive me." Even Maris stared in disbelief. How on earth did she do that? She muttered, for the first time in her life, unable to utter a word of mockery. Liana kept the secret of the golden fruit in her heart. Her belly grew larger, and the villagers whispered all sorts of rumors, but she ignored them all. Nothing could dim the growing joy within her, a joy that whispered to her in her dreams, a joy that felt like destiny blossoming in her womb. And then, on a cool night, under a sky full of twinkling stars, Liana knew that her miracle was about to happen. The labor pains came before dawn, sharp, throbbing waves crashing against the rocks. Daryl hurried to call the village midwives, while Mrs. Mara lit candles and prayed fervently. The whole household was in a frenzy of anxiety and anticipation. Hours passed. Liana screamed, cried, and was drenched in sweat, while the midwives gently comforted her. Outside, the villagers gathered, anxiously awaiting. Even those who had once mocked her now whispered prayers. Finally, after a desperate push, the cry of a baby pierced the air. "It's a boy, a perfect boy." When the midwife placed the baby in her arms, Liana felt her heart burst with love. The baby's skin was warm and soft, and when the baby's eyes opened, they shone with a gentle sparkle, like the surface of water illuminated by moonlight. "What will you name the baby?" a midwife asked. "Tero," Liana whispered. "His name will be Tero." Daryl knelt beside her, tears streaming down his face. "My son, Liana, you did it, you did it." Mara wept uncontrollably, clutching Liana's hand. "My granddaughter, after all these years, ... Double quotes that night, the whole village celebrated, drums beat, and people danced. The women who had once mocked Liana now brought gifts and apologies, but as Liana lay beside her sleeping son, she saw something others couldn't. When Tero breathed, tiny specks of light twinkled above his chest. When he blinked, the surrounding darkness seemed to shift, as if it recognized him. When she held him, warmth radiated not only from his body but also spread throughout the room. Tero was extraordinary. He was different. He was exactly as the guardian spirit had promised, and Liana loved him with a maternal love she had never felt before. Little did she know that this was only the beginning of Tero's destiny. From the moment Tero learned to crawl, the extraordinary signs became increasingly clear and undeniable. Harmony with nature. Flowers and plants bloomed more profusely wherever the boy went. Birds perched quietly near him, watching with curious eyes. Even wild animals, foxes, deer, and even once a mountain wolf approached him without fear, bowing their heads before leaving. The villagers began whispering, "This boy is blessed. No, he's been touched by spirits." The power of calming. When Tero was only 3 years old, a fierce storm hit Ravona. Lightning flashed, the wind howled. But Tero, though still a toddler, went outside, raised his little hands, and giggled. The storm immediately calmed down. The clouds dispersed like frightened sheep. People knelt down. Mara proudly boasted, "My grandson has been chosen by heaven." Even Maris showed respect, lowering her voice whenever the boy passed by. But Liana watched it all with a mixture of pride and fear. The guardian spirit's warning still echoed in her heart. It did not belong in this world alone. One evening, Tero sat beside her, his tiny fingers gently stroking a glowing butterfly that was perched softly on his hand. "Mom," Tero whispered, his voice sounding somewhat unfamiliar. "The mountains are talking to me." Liana's heart froze. "What did they say?" "Darling, they said, you have work to do," the boy replied. "But not yet." Liana tried to smile, though her hands trembled as she stroked his hair. Tero was just a child, but his eyes held the wisdom of millennia. As the years passed, Tero's power grew. Villagers from far-off lands came to Liana's house seeking Tero's help. They brought sick animals, injured children, and failed crops, and somehow Tero healed them all. Sometimes with just a touch, sometimes with just a word. Ravona began to worship Tero. But Liana, she spent many sleepless nights, staring at the ceiling, wondering, would the spirits return to claim what she had prayed for? Could she keep her son? When Tero turned 5, the questions swirling in Liana's heart became overwhelming. Her son's power grew stronger, as did the villagers' whispers. Some revered him, others feared him. Liana feared the spirits would soon return to demand the price she had agreed to pay. One quiet evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Liana took Tero's hand. "We're going somewhere," she whispered. "Going up the mountain?" Tero asked, his voice soft, as if he already knew. "Yes," Liana whispered. They walked together toward Shadow Peak Ridge. The forest greeted them with gentle rustling, as if recognizing the child to whom it had given life. Tero hummed as he walked, touching the trees, greeting them like old friends. As they reached the ancient clearing, Liana mustered all her courage and trembling, called out, "O guardian spirit, please appear. I need answers."